Hi, my name is Sharon Heaton. I'm the CEO of sbLiftOff, a national M&A firm that works with a lot of veterans, both as buyers and sellers. Today we're going to start with stories from the trenches with veteran buyers and sellers. We're going to start today with John Hubbard, who is the founder of Blue Cord Capital. John was a U.S. Army Special Operation Command and is with us today. Hi, John.
Hey, how you guys doing?
You left the military in what year?
2016.
Okay. And then what did you do when you left the military?
I actually became a cop in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas.
Yeah, well, that's fascinating. How did you make the transition from military to policeman to now being a business owner?
The police transition from the military was pretty natural. My father was military, and then he became a federal law enforcement officer. After me, my brother was in the military and became a cop. So I knew it was what I was going to do. It just ended up not being all that it was cracked up to be. So I needed
Well, that sounds like you kind of knew where you were heading for the cop. How did you make the transition from cop to business owner?
I was drug along by much smarter military colleagues than myself that just didn't give up on me. And, seeing them buy their businesses and run them really kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities and the freedom that they had. So
I think you mentioned to me that 6 of your colleagues went off and either started or bought businesses?
Yeah, 6 specific kind of veterans that I knew and followed their stories, and then 3 or 4 really good buddies of mine, former roommates and guys I was in training with for a year, and some specific guys in Texas that I knew really well.
Was that kind of a revelation to you? I mean, seeing people that who are, just like you, owning companies and saying, well, maybe that's what I should be thinking about.
Absolutely, because I just think back to the times we spent, in Charleston and Myrtle Beach on the weekends, and the things we would
don't
get
need
into
details, John.
Yeah. But just saying, if we know what, no offense to my friends, but if these guys can do it, I can too.
What was your biggest concern about becoming a business owner?
Lack of pedigree, I would say. I know a lot of things you find in this kind of search fund, ETA space, or former military academy grads that then went and got Ivy League degrees from big colleges, or then went and worked in PE or investment banking for big firms. So just, not even have been an officer in the military, kind of felt like it would be stepping out of my realm, kind of getting in over my head. Or, there was a saying in the military, the number one reason people don't make it in special forces selection is they never attend. And it's true. So you never try, then you'll never know.
Well, that's very interesting. So the idea of that was just for other people, that was not something that folks like you did. Now, you were in special forces. I think you and I had a brief conversation about your view of people who are in special forces and the kinds of presentations that they need to make and why that's relevant in business. Could you talk to our audience about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. With a small caveat there, I was in special operations, not specifically special forces.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, they're kind of one and the same, but for the guys in the community, we definitely want to make sure we get it right.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so come from that community. In my role, I was a special operations combat medic, which allowed me to be assigned to several different special operations commands. And the freedom and autonomy and kind of the responsibility you're given, really in any special operations unit capacity, is pretty unheralded, and it's not precedent in the military. You might have a senior enlisted guy going and being the only representative of a government in a foreign country. And then you're briefing ambassadors and doing teleconferences like this with maybe the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Some of my military colleagues, even as captains, which isn't an officer rank, but not very high up, briefing Congress. I mean, those are experiences that make going to pitch your idea in front of some investors seem like one of the lowest stress things you can do in your life.
That is an excellent point. I mean, I think that it is not intuitively obvious that one leads to the other, but you're right. The skill set that it takes to walk in and to do a congressional briefing or whatever, talking to folks in an embassy, pretty much the same that you need to talk to an investor. Okay, so you have friends who have done this, and then you say, maybe I should think about it. What kind of business were you looking for? Did you think about starting a business or only about buying one?
So only about buying one, honestly. My biggest aha light bulb moment, and I think I saw his name on this panel, Al Danto, professor down at Rice. I went and sat in one of his business classes with my buddy because I was visiting in Houston for the weekend. And it was a class specifically focused on buying a business from an existing owner. And an actual owner came in and was kind of just getting ripped apart with questions. It was like a 3-hour due diligence process there with all the students asking questions. And from that moment, I was like, you know what? You're buying cash flow more or less, and you're buying something that's established. And these businesses are just for sale out there and no one's buying them. And that was, the light bulb moment when I realized that not only was this a viable path, but I feel like super underutilized.
John, and you're doing exactly what the professor did for you. You're now paying it forward. So let's talk about that. You got the idea and you said, one of the things that I've learned, not really great wisdom here, is that people in the military tend not to make huge salaries. So they come out of the military and they don't necessarily have a lot of coin in their pocket. How did you go about trying to buy a business?
Well, first off, I think naturally all the material and stuff that's out there is geared towards and kind of steers you towards a traditional search funded model. So I thought the same thing, and I had, my investment information and bio and stuff typed up, and I was going to try to do the traditional search fund raise and then, get a little WeWork space and a website and spend the 2 years searching for a nationwide business in the certain EBITDA range. And then I just interviewed as many people as I could, searchers, business owners, former business owners who were searchers that are now investors. And the biggest thing I got was a lot of them said, I wish I had done it self-funded. In hindsight, I wish I'd bought a smaller business and done it self-funded. So I decided to go that route. And it really boiled down to, I wanted to be a small business owner more than I wanted to be a CEO of a company. And I knew
what
that
did being a small business owner mean to you? I mean, what's the difference in your mind between being a CEO and a small business owner?
Yeah, 51% ownership of the company was my bare minimum I was willing to accept, even if it meant I was going to buy a snow cone truck. It's important to me to have that say. I didn't want to have to ask people for permission, more or less, on a daily basis, which my wife finally revealed to me that was my true desire, is you just don't want to have a boss, which is true. So I went that route.
Let's talk a little details about your transaction. You decided to go the self-funded route as opposed to the search fund route. Two very viable options. If you're going the self-funded route, I'm assuming that were you looking at an SBA loan, or were you looking at commercial financing?
I was looking pretty much exclusively at an SBA loan.
And were you focused on the SBA because of the 10-year amortization of the debt, or simply because it's kind of easier to get an SBA loan than a commercial?
Yes, both. and the smaller, equity injection needed up front for the purchase was also huge.
True. So tell us about the company that you found. How did you find it first?
So I found it through a mutual acquaintance of mine. Actually ended up being one of my investors. And, I think that's one of the hugest things I've learned is you can have data mining and CRMs and 17 interns working in your office while you're searching. And like 75% of the people I find out were, kind of turned on to their business by a fellow searcher, a former professor. They didn't even find it themselves. They just stumbled across it. Someone said, too big for us. How about you guys? Too small for us. How about you? And this is one of the same. Someone said, hey, I know about this company. The owner's looking to sell. You guys should talk.
So one of the things that I think you and I talked about is what you were saying right now is networking. There's a tremendous amount of information and experience that you have to impart, and I'm sure you'll be willing to talk to other people afterwards, but we're going to need to continue on. But talk to me just for a moment about the networking side, because I think that's really important element for us to end on.
Yeah, I think this is a really unique kind of ecosystem search funding is everyone is willing to jump on the phone and book a call, and it's kind of a shared success mentality. Is I haven't found a single person yet that's been hesitant to talk about their deal or their resources or who invested. And, it's super open. That's kind of what I'm trying to do now, is to pay it back to some of those guys, but everyone wants to help and wants to talk. So it makes it really easy to find, deals, money, professional services, lawyers, accountants, all that stuff.
That's fantastic, John. And that is exactly the purpose of today's symposium, is to talk about all the resources that are available and how to make people make the jump that you did. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure that we'll be reaching out to you again.